Are you just the sum of your memories? Or are you something more? And what if your memories are unreliable? Perhaps not even real? Those are two of the questions posed by the 1998 noir-style sci-fi film, Dark City. The film follows John Murdoch, a man who wakes up in a bathtub with no memory of how he got there or who he is. Soon, we learn that he's implicated in a gruesome murder and pursued both by the police and a group of strange, pale men. We eventually discover that these men are aliens, part of a dying race that exists as a hive mind, sharing collective memories. They believe that gaining individual identities, like humans have, might help them to survive. So they experiment on the kidnapped humans who populate the fake city they have constructed in space. They wipe their memories, implant new ones, and regularly change them, all in an attempt to understand how memory forms human identity and copy it. Rewatching this brilliant film made me think about something that happened to me recently. I met up with an old friend, and we started reminiscing about a trip we took together many years ago. One evening on the trip, we went to the top of a very tall building to get a good view of the city. At the top, we decided it would be fun to climb out onto the fire escape and sit outside on the roof. It was a silly thing to do, but we were young and foolhardy. I was wearing flip-flops, and as I climbed down the fire escape, one of them fell off and landed on a different part of the roof below. I thought it was lost for good, but my friend said that he thought he could get it. So, despite the danger, he climbed down and retrieved it for me. As I finished recalling the story, my friend looked confused. He told me that it was his flip-flop that fell, and I was the one who climbed down to get it. I said he must be mistaken, but he was insistent. He reminded me that he isn't a good climber, which, he said, is why I went instead. But I clearly recall it was my flip-flop. I'm certain I'm right, but he is equally certain he's right. And so we'll never know what actually happened. We were the only ones there, but we can't both be correct. In the end, it doesn't really matter whose flip-flop fell and who retrieved it. But the experience did make me think, how reliable are my memories? Could I be like one of the characters in Dark City, walking around with a mind full of memories of things that didn't really happen? There was a famous study in 2002 in which participants were shown a childhood photograph of themselves in a hot air balloon and asked to recall the experience. 50% remembered the ride, some in great detail. The only thing was, it never actually happened. The photo was fake, doctored by the researchers. These results have been repeated many times. One study found that doctored photos weren't even needed. Simply having a person be told about an event by a family member could cause them to remember that event, despite the fact it never actually happened. It's possible, then, that not only are some of our recollections inaccurate, but some may not be real at all. You might be thinking that this doesn't apply to you. After all, no one has deliberately implanted false memories in your mind the way researchers did in those studies. Yet there is plenty of anecdotal evidence of people doing things like confidently recalling something that happened to them, only later to realise it was something they saw on television. Others recall events during therapy sessions or deep conversations that later turn out never to have occurred. So we may not need someone else to implant false memories. Perhaps we sometimes do it to ourselves. The strangers in Dark City wanted to understand human memory because they believed that personal recollections are what create individual identity. Most of us implicitly believe this too. We say things like, our experiences make us who we are, or our childhood has a huge effect on us. But if we think about it, what we're really talking about are memories. Our past is gone. What remains is the memory of it. And so it is our recollections that determine what we think of ourselves, who we believe we are, and what we think we can become. But what does it mean then if the very things that shape our sense of self may not be accurate? in some cases, may not be real at all. It raises an uncomfortable possibility. If my memories of who I was and what I've done are not reliable, if I can't even trust a simple story about a flip-flop, then the person I believe myself to be may be, at least in part, a false construction. And this self-image, however inaccurate, shapes what I believe I'm like, what things I think I'm capable of, and what I assume my limitations are. What if we are allowing an inaccurate recollection of something we failed at in the past to stop us from trying new things? What if we could be more confident and more successful if we just remembered things differently? And so if your past troubles you, why not just choose to remember things differently? Because unfortunately, that probably isn't possible. Whilst it is true that we can be tricked into recalling things that never happened, and whilst we all remember at least some things inaccurately, I don't think we can simply make ourselves remember things differently, or consciously create memories of events we know did not occur. However, knowing what we do about memory, we can become more skeptical about our recollections, particularly those that trouble us or hold us back. We can start by accepting that we may not be remembering them entirely correctly. If possible, we can ask others what they recall and use their accounts to inform our own. Even when that isn't possible, simply understanding that our memories may be incorrect can help make them less troubling. At the end of Dark City, the stranger, Mr. Hand, is dying because taking on individual memories is killing him. He says he did it to know what it would be like to be human. But Murdoch replies that the strangers were looking in the wrong place, that they won't find what makes us human by looking at our memories. There are many ways to interpret this. Perhaps Murdoch is suggesting that humans each have a soul. But I think that it can also mean that our memories are not the only things that make us who we are. Our identity is also shaped by the relationships we have, the books we read, the places we go, and the things we do each day. And those are all things we can change. So if there is a positive message to this video, it is this. We don't need to define ourselves by our fallible recollections of who we were or what we think we once did. The strangers in Dark City searched for individual identity in memories, but couldn't find it. So perhaps we should stop searching there too. Who we are is not just what we remember. It's what we're doing now and what we'll do next. And unlike a flip-flop falling from a roof, those are things we can control.